Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that moves at lightning speed, where answers are demanded instantly and reactions are expected without pause, we often forget the quiet power of patience. We forget that not every question needs an immediate answer, not every pain requires instant healing, and not every loss is meant to be filled quickly. Life unfolds in mysterious ways, and sometimes the best response we can give is to remain calm and let time reveal what we cannot yet understand. There are moments when life throws uncertainty at us. Confusing relationships, failed plans, unexpected setbacks. In those moments, panic and impulsiveness may seem like the only way to regain control. But wisdom lies in restraint. When we choose to be calm instead of reacting hastily, we allow clarity to grow. We open a space where emotions can settle and reason can rise. Time is not just a measure of moments. It is a healer, a revealer, and a silent teacher. What may seem like chaos today can turn into clarity tomorrow if we just allow life to breathe. The storms that disturb our peace often pass, and in their passing, they teach us lessons that we couldn't have seen when we were caught in the middle of the winds. So when you find yourself overwhelmed by questions, when life doesn't make sense, when people fail you, or the road gets rough, pause. Breathe. Be calm. Trust that time in its gentle unfolding has a way of giving us the answers we desperately seek. When we are faced with uncertainty, whether it's a life decision, a personal crisis, or an unexpected turn of events, our first instinct is often to react. We feel the pressure to act fast, to fix things immediately, to say something, to do something. But in these moments, staying calm is not a weakness. It is a form of inner strength. Calmness is the anchor that keeps us grounded when the storm is raging around us. Uncertainty creates fear, and fear often leads to panic. Panic clouds judgment, narrows our vision, and causes us to overlook better, more thoughtful solutions. But when we choose to stay calm, we create space between what's happening and how we respond to it. That space is powerful. It's where rational thinking replaces emotional reaction. It's where we start to understand what's really happening, rather than being consumed by what we feel in the heat of the moment. Remaining calm doesn't mean we ignore the situation. It means we observe it without being overwhelmed. It means we allow ourselves to understand before we act, to feel before we speak. It gives our minds time to catch up with our emotions. Calmness is also contagious. When we remain composed, we influence others around us to settle down too. In tense moments, a calm presence becomes a guiding light. In uncertainty, calmness allows us to think with clarity, speak with wisdom, and act with purpose. It gives us control over the only thing we truly own in any moment, our response. While we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we face it. And choosing calmness is choosing strength. In the heat of a moment, emotions often become overwhelming. Anger, sadness, fear, or confusion can blur our judgment, distort reality, and push us into decisions we might later regret. But time, unlike emotion, is steady. It's not impulsive or reactive. Time allows us to see things with fresh eyes and a quieter mind. What seems urgent or unbearable in one moment may feel completely different after a few hours, a few days, or even a few weeks. Time has a way of putting things in perspective that emotions, in their raw intensity, simply cannot. When emotions are running high, our perception is clouded. We may interpret actions and words in the worst possible way. We may assume the worst about others, about ourselves, and about the future. But when we allow time to pass, those intense feelings settle. We begin to notice details we previously missed. We begin to question our first impressions. We start to recognize that maybe what we thought was betrayal was a misunderstanding, or that what felt like failure was actually redirection. Clarity doesn't come when the heart is storming. It comes when the storm calms down. Time is like clear water washing over the murky lens of emotion, allowing us to see through the fog. It reveals patterns, teaches lessons, and uncovers truths that were hidden beneath our emotional reactions. The more we allow time to unfold naturally, the more we are able to understand not just the situation, but also ourselves, our triggers, our values, our needs. Time also teaches us that some answers don't need to come right away. Some things are meant to remain unsolved for a while because growth and understanding require space. Rushing to conclusions can be harmful, especially when those conclusions are built on emotional assumptions rather than thoughtful reflection. By stepping back and allowing time to do its work, we gain clarity that emotions alone could never provide. In the face of stress, conflict, or disappointment, our instinct is often to react instantly. It's a natural impulse to defend ourselves, to fight back, to respond without pause. But history, both personal and collective, shows us that those first reactions, especially when driven by emotion, are rarely the wisest. Acting in the heat of the moment often blinds us to the bigger picture and locks us into choices that bring more harm than resolution. When we react immediately, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to fully understand the situation. Our words may be sharp, our decisions rushed, and our tone misunderstood. How many times have we sent a message we later wished we hadn't? How often have we raised our voice and later felt ashamed? How frequently do we find ourselves retracing the steps of a hastily made decision, burdened with the weight of regret? These moments are painful reminders that patience before action is not weakness, it's wisdom. The reason immediate reactions often lead to regret is because they are driven not by understanding but by raw emotion. Anger pushes us to say things we don't mean. Hurt makes us withdraw or retaliate. Fear drives us to control situations that need space instead. And once those actions are taken, they cannot be undone. Words spoken in anger leave emotional scars. Decisions made out of fear can close doors we weren't ready to close. Relationships can fracture in seconds due to a moment's thoughtless reaction. Slowing down doesn't mean ignoring what's happening. It means respecting the gravity of the moment enough to handle it with care. It's about choosing to respond, not react. A thoughtful response, after reflection, can change the course of a conversation, a relationship, or a decision. It preserves our dignity, keeps our integrity intact, and prevents the kind of regret that lingers long after the situation has passed. Taking even a small pause, a deep breath, a walk, a moment of silence, can make the difference between an action we later appreciate and one we endlessly wish we could take back. In moments of emotional intensity, whether it's a heated argument, shocking news, betrayal, or failure, our natural instinct is to respond quickly. It's almost automatic. Our brain reacts to protect us, to assert us, to regain control of a situation that feels threatening or painful. But this knee-jerk reaction, no matter how justified it may feel at the time, is rarely aligned with the outcome we truly want. What feels like strength in the moment often becomes a burden in hindsight. Immediate reactions are like emotional outbursts. They are loud, quick, and often poorly thought out. They are shaped by the intensity of what we are feeling rather than the wisdom of what we know. For example, in a conflict, reacting with harsh words might temporarily give us a sense of power or release. But once that moment has passed and emotions cool, we begin to see the damage done. Relationships are strained, trust is broken, and sometimes the opportunity to make things right is gone. The truth is, regret is a frequent companion of impulsive actions. We look back wishing we had taken a moment to think, to breathe, to understand. We replay scenarios in our head, thinking, if only I had waited, if only I had said something different, if only I had listened instead of reacted. These thoughts haunt us not because we were wrong to feel upset, but because we were too quick to act without fully processing the situation. One of the dangers of immediate reaction is that it limits perspective. It traps us in a narrow emotional tunnel where we see things only from our hurt, our anger, our disappointment. We don't consider the full picture, the other person's intentions, or even our long-term values. And because of this narrow lens, our actions don't align with who we are at our core. They reflect our pain, not our principles. Moreover, impulsive reactions can create a cycle of negativity. One sharp comment invites another. One rash decision triggers more drama. And before we know it, a small issue escalates into something much larger and more damaging. What could have been resolved with calm communication becomes a prolonged conflict, and what could have been a minor setback turns into a defining regret. By learning to pause, we give ourselves the gift of choice, the choice to respond with clarity, empathy, and strength. Even a short delay, like stepping away for a few minutes or sleeping on a situation, can bring enormous insight. It gives us time to understand our emotions, to consider other perspectives, and to align our response with the kind of person we truly want to be. This pause is not weakness, it's maturity, self-control, and wisdom. In the long run, we rarely regret staying silent for a moment to think. But we often regret the things we say or do without thinking. That is why mastering the art of responding rather than reacting can save us from a lifetime of avoidable mistakes and give us the inner peace that comes from knowing we acted with thought, not just feeling. In a world driven by speed and instant results, patience is often undervalued. We are taught to chase quick fixes, expect overnight success, and demand immediate closure. But true growth, whether emotional, mental, or spiritual, takes time. Just like a seed doesn't turn into a tree in a day, our personal development, healing from pain, and understanding of life all require time and patience. Rushing the process only delays the depth of transformation we are meant to experience. Healing, especially, cannot be forced. Whether it's the end of a relationship, a personal failure, a loss, or a betrayal, the heart doesn't mend because we want it to. It mends because we allow it the time and space to process pain, to reflect, and to rebuild. Impatience often leads us to distract ourselves or numb our feelings, rather than sit with them. But the truth is, growth comes through the discomfort. It comes through the quiet moments of reflection, through the slow acceptance of what has happened, and through the courage to move forward at our own pace. Patience teaches us to be gentle with ourselves. It reminds us that we are not machines programmed for perfection. We are human beings with emotions, flaws, and complexities. When we give ourselves patience, we offer the grace to stumble, to learn, and to grow without shame. We understand that setbacks are part of the journey, not signs of failure. Each struggle we face becomes an opportunity to discover a deeper layer of who we are, and every slow step forward builds resilience. Not only does patience heal, but it also protects. When we're patient, we make wiser decisions. We don't rush into situations that aren't right for us. And we don't accept less than we deserve simply because we're tired of waiting. We learn to wait for the right timing, the right people, and the right opportunities. And when we do, what comes to us is more meaningful and lasting, because it was earned through endurance, not desperation. In relationships, patience helps us understand others better. It allows room for mistakes, for misunderstandings to be cleared, for people to grow alongside us. We realize that just as we need time to heal and mature, so do others. This understanding makes our connections more compassionate, more forgiving, and ultimately more real. Patience is not passive. It's an active choice to trust the process, even when it's slow or uncertain. It's the strength to stay committed to a goal, a dream, or a personal promise, even when results are not yet visible. Just as a tree strengthens its roots in silence before breaking through the soil, we too gain inner strength during the quiet, unseen seasons of our lives. In today's fast-paced world, we are surrounded by noise, not just the physical noise of traffic, notifications, and constant chatter, but also the mental noise of overthinking, societal pressure, opinions, and expectations. When faced with uncertainty or difficulty, our instinct is often to seek external input immediately. We talk to people, scroll endlessly for inspiration, binge content, or distract ourselves with activity, thinking the more we do or the more we consume, the quicker the answer will come. But real answers, the ones that bring lasting peace and direction, are rarely found in that noise. They are found in silence. Silence is uncomfortable for many of us because it forces us to sit with ourselves. In silence, there are no distractions, only thoughts, emotions, memories, and truths that surface. But it is in this stillness that we start to hear what truly matters. We begin to distinguish between what the world tells us and what our inner voice is trying to say. We start to understand the difference between reacting out of fear and responding from wisdom. Silence creates a space where the mind can slow down, the heart can speak up, and clarity can begin to form. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, we are in a reactive state. Our mind jumps from one thought to another, our emotions are heightened, and our ability to reflect deeply is diminished. This constant external stimulation clouds our ability to make sound decisions. It becomes easy to mistake loud voices for truth and confusion for urgency. On the other hand, when we embrace moments of silence, whether through solitude, mindfulness, prayer, or even just quiet observation, we create the environment needed for true understanding to emerge. Many of the answers we are desperately seeking are already within us, but they're buried under layers of stress, expectation, and mental clutter. Silence acts like a gentle brush, sweeping away the fog so we can see clearly. It allows us to ask better questions. What am I really feeling? What is this situation trying to teach me? What do I truly want or value here? These aren't questions that get answered in a rush or with noise. They are answered in stillness, over time with honesty. Furthermore, silence helps us develop emotional discipline. It teaches us that not everything needs an immediate response, and that restraint is often wiser than reaction. By taking time in silence before speaking or acting, we allow emotions to settle and our thoughts to mature. We gain perspective. We listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. And in that quiet listening, new ideas emerge, old wounds begin to heal, and answers we never expected come gently into focus. The most profound realizations often arrive not when we're searching desperately, but when we're still, when we've quieted the world around us and turned inward. In silence, we reconnect with our intuition, with our core values, and with the deeper rhythm of life that often goes unnoticed amidst all the noise. One of the hardest truths to accept in life is that things don't always happen when we want them to. We live in an age of instant gratification. Meals arrive in minutes, messages are delivered in seconds, and expectations are set for everything to move quickly. But life, especially when it comes to meaningful growth, healing, or transformation, doesn't operate on our schedule. And learning to trust that everything will unfold in its right time requires deep emotional maturity and strength. Having faith in timing doesn't mean being passive or indifferent. It means understanding that some answers, opportunities, or outcomes are not meant to appear right away. Not because we don't deserve them, but because we are still being prepared for them. Often, when things are delayed, it's because something within us or around us is still shifting, aligning, or evolving. It takes emotional strength to accept that delay doesn't mean denial, and that waiting is not wasted time. Sometimes we are simply not ready yet, or the situation is still unfolding behind the scenes in ways we can't yet see. This kind of faith builds inner resilience. It teaches us to endure moments of uncertainty without falling apart. It gives us the strength to stay grounded when things don't go our way, to remain hopeful when outcomes are unclear, and to keep showing up for life even when the results are not immediate. It turns our focus away from demanding quick answers and helps us learn the deeper virtues of endurance, patience, and trust. Believing in divine or natural timing also reduces the pressure to control everything. When we let go of the obsession with deadlines and outcomes, we stop forcing things to happen. We stop pushing ourselves or others into roles or timelines that are unnatural. This surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It takes emotional strength to believe that what is meant for you will not miss you, and that sometimes your only task is to prepare yourself while you wait. Furthermore, faith in timing allows us to be more present. Instead of constantly worrying about what hasn't happened yet, we begin to focus on what is within our control right now. We pour our energy into becoming better, more patient, more capable, so that when the right moment arrives, we're truly ready to embrace it. And often, when we finally receive what we've been waiting for, we realize that it came at the perfect moment. Not too early, not too late, but right when we needed it most, even if we couldn't see it then. Over time, this trust in timing becomes a quiet confidence. It's the calm assurance that life unfolds as it should, and that our journey is unique. We stop comparing ourselves to others. We stop panicking over delays, and we begin to recognize that emotional strength isn't about forcing things into place. It's about standing strong while the pieces fall into place naturally. We often want everything to happen now. Success, clarity, healing, love, recognition. But life has its own rhythm, and often that rhythm doesn't match our urgency. This misalignment can be frustrating, even painful, especially when we feel ready for a breakthrough or change that just doesn't come. However, learning to trust that everything has its time is not just an act of patience. It is a profound act of emotional strength and personal evolution. Faith in timing is built when we realize that not getting what we want right now may be life's way of protecting us or preparing us. Sometimes we are emotionally, mentally, or spiritually unready for the very things we are begging for. We think we are ready for a relationship, a career milestone, or healing from something traumatic. But we may still be carrying patterns, fears, or wounds that need attention. Life delays certain things because it's allowing space for our deeper transformation. Without that transformation, we may sabotage what we've been given. With it, we become aligned with our purpose, not just with our plans. This kind of trust doesn't come easily. It's forged in disappointment, in long periods of uncertainty, in quiet seasons when nothing seems to move. It takes strength to wake up every day and keep going, even when the answers haven't come. It takes strength to keep putting in effort when the results aren't visible. It takes strength to not give up on yourself or your journey just because things are moving slowly. Emotional maturity is knowing that growth is not always seen on the surface. It often happens deep within, beneath the layers, silently preparing you for what's ahead. Moreover, having faith in timing allows us to break free from the destructive habit of comparison. In a world where everyone posts their highlights and achievements, it's easy to feel behind. But when you trust timing, you stop comparing someone else's chapter 20 to your chapter 5. You start realizing that your path is unique, and that rushing your process to match someone else's timeline can rob you of the lessons, growth, and inner peace meant only for you. Real strength is being able to say, I'm not there yet, and that's okay. My time will come. Faith in timing also helps us respond to rejection or delay with wisdom rather than defeat. Instead of asking why me, we begin to ask, what is this teaching me? We start to shift our mindset from feeling like victims of delay to students of timing. We recognize that closed doors aren't always the end. They may be redirection.